Okay. Okay. How we feeling? Just in time. We got some news, official news, even though we figured we were going to get it. Nerlens Noel's available for game 2. So, it's the little things in life, right? That's good. It can't hurt, right? Can't hurt. If you are in the Garden, I see a bunch of people are typing Garden into the chat. If you're in the Garden, shout out from inside the arena. I imagine it is going to be quite the scene there tonight. I'm not sure if it's going to be quite what we saw the other night, but I actually, the first thing I want to say before I get to the Mitch stuff and before I get to the Elf stuff, because we'll get to that. I actually think it might not be the worst thing if, the top was ready to blow off that place the other night from everything that I heard. Obviously, I wasn't there, and I'm sure it'll be pretty crazy tonight. But the players felt it, and obviously they came out and scored 11 points in the first 9.5 minutes. So for as much as I think the Garden is a big help, and I definitely think it was helping them in that third quarter when they were making the run and the whole thing spurred Alec Burks on, if you want to say that. I don't know. I kind of think it might be better if it's like at kind of a 9 to the 11 that it was the other night. Or maybe the players just needed to get used to it. I don't know. But I think it definitely, in the beginning of the game, and this is where my thinking has changed the most over the last couple days from my initial reaction. Because my initial reaction was like, my God, you got that once-in-a-lifetime environment. How could you lose that game? The more I thought about it, the more I'm like, no, actually, the once-in-a-lifetime environment, I don't necessarily know if it helped them as much as I at least initially thought it did. The players would never admit it, but you just look at like some of the shots they missed, especially in the first quarter. You look at the threes Reggie Bullock missed. You look at the threes RJ Barrett missed. You look at all the shots Julius Randle missed. Obviously, he doesn't do well coming off of breaks. Even Derrick Rose was missing early shots in the easy shots in the first quarter, shots that he's been making. So hopefully they got all the jitters out. That's the first thing. Eshwin, there was pressure on them to make shots and make the city proud. 100%. And those are Tibbs' words. We want to make the city proud, and I think they had internalized that. So that's the first thing. Second thing. Elfrid Payton's starting again tonight. Troy Hendrickson says Julius admitted on Inside the NBA. I actually didn't even see that. But good for him for being up front. He's been up front all year. So, yeah. Elfrid Payton. Elfrid Payton's bad. If you have been watching me or listening to me at any point over the last, 2-3 months, you've been hearing me say the same thing. Don't forget, I was the asshole who defended the Elfrid Payton signing when it happened. And my reasoning was very simple. I said, if you looked at the numbers last year, among the things that you could place the blame on, he was not at the top of the list. I didn't even think he was first or second or third. I thought he was just an average NBA basketball player playing on a bad NBA team. And I was like, you know what? For 1 year, $4.7 million, you could do worse. Get some continuity. Plays hard. He's not always very good. And then he came out this season, and he was a worse version of what he was last year. Didn't play to make the pass as much. Whatever shining moments he had on defense slowly started to subside. And that was like him over the first, 60 games, but he was just like a regular bad version of himself over the first 60 games. But you could kind of see, even if you squinted hard enough, it's like, okay, he kept everything else in place. You kind of get it. You may not have agreed with it, but you get it. And then over the last 12 or 8 to 12 games, whatever it was, he slowly turned into a shell of himself to the point that we're now at where we are now. And all of the organizations, and I'm not putting the blame on any one person, but like this party line that they've been trotting out there for basically the whole season, that like he's good on defense, we like how he organizes the team, all of like the bullshit that you can say in a press conference and not really have people hold your feet to the fire on it, at least like make it a national story type of thing. Like that stuff after one game of the playoffs, because everybody's watching the playoffs, that shit no longer works. Because you get Kenny Smith up there on the big board on TNT showing like, no, actually he's not very good at defense, and actually he doesn't really try. And you get people watching Trae Young break him down repeatedly, and like, not to say that Derrick Rose did a great job or Quickly did a great job or anybody did a great job, but like he's not any kind of like a defensive stopper. And what has and if you've been listening to me, I've been saying this for weeks, so this is not news. He gives Tibbs he keeps everything else in place for Tibbs. He just keeps everything else in place. And I think Tibbs refuses to take a formula that got them to 41 wins. And this is why he said the comment in the way he did today before the game. For anybody who missed it, he said it was a 2-point game because Berman asked him specifically, why are you keeping Payton in the starting lineup? And his first words out of his mouth were, it was a 2-point game. We were a loose ball away from winning the game. And on one hand, you know what? He's not wrong. They were a loose ball away from winning the game, and it was a 2-point game. At the same time, this is the playoffs. Every possession matters. Every minute matters. And God knows 8 minutes, which is how long they played him, matters. So where is the risk reward at this point? Is the reward of Tibbs getting to keep everything else the way he wants it? Does the probability / possibility of that outweigh the risk of the downside of those 8 minutes and the tone that it sets with your team in the first 4 of the first half and the first 4 of the second half? Where is that balance? And I just, it's the playoffs, and to quote Tibbs, there's preseason basketball, there's regular season basketball, and there's playoff basketball. And everything changes in the playoffs because teams will take advantage of every little inch that you give them. And you're giving them a bunch of inches here. I get that he likes everything set up the way that it gets set up if you just give Elf those first 8 minutes, and you don't have to upset the apple cart by pulling Burks out of your second 5, or you're pulling Quickly away from your second 5. And to a certain extent, I get that, because when you get Burks and Quickly and Rose on the court at the same time, and you don't overtax them, and you can then insert some of your starters in with those other guys, and you get that amount of time to see, okay, who has it going, who doesn't have it going, who should close the game. Like, it sets everything else up, and I get that. I totally get that, and I acknowledge that. But, how long? How long can we go with it? We'll see. I mean, if they're going to start him tonight, if they win the game, and if they win it going away, which I'm not sure I believe that they're going to do, but let's just say they do for argument's sake, hey, maybe Tibbs gets proven right. But that is the calculation. I am just, at the very least, I'm happy that we're at the point where no one is under any illusions about like, we are starting this guy because we think he's the best option. Like, no one that is out the window. It is very clear at this point that he is starting because it keeps everything else in place, and it is merely a question of, is it worth it? Is keeping everything else in place worth it? We got a comment in the super chat. Robert McGinley, you just touched on it. My issue with Elf isn't his ability. It's giving no effort. He's completely given up defensively. I don't even know what's worse. A guy that's giving no effort. I'm not going to say he's giving no effort. Like, he's out there when he's guarding, Trae Young. He's trying. He's not very good. He's a guy that has no confidence. He's playing without any confidence. And you can't play in the NBA with no confidence, let alone in the playoffs. So it's a really tough situation. I get everybody's sentiments about like, okay, well, just put Frank in there. And do I think that Frank would be better in there for those 8 minutes? Absolutely. Is that the direction that I would go? No, I would go Burks. I've said I would go Burks, but whatever. You do what you do. Mitch So I don't know how real that the bit about he was listed as day to day, because I don't check that thing. For all I know, he could have been listed day to day on that particular. It's like a Knicks page or so. I don't know, whatever the hell it is. For all I know, he could have been listed as that every day for the last month. But it did get me to check in with the people that I could check in with. And I was told basically don't rule out Mitch as returning, and that he has been the term I used was briefed on the Hawks. Like they are preparing as if there is a possibility at least that Mitchell Robinson plays in this series. He tweeted like the eye emojis. Maybe he was just having some fun. We've seen him have some fun on Twitter before. Obviously, he's out tonight. He is, I believe, already been ruled out for Friday's game. And Tibbs was extraordinarily prepared for the question. You could tell that the way he answered the question, he did not want this to become a topic of conversation, which my guess is, if there is a sentiment with whether it's Atlanta or anywhere where it's like people don't think there's a possibility that Mitch is coming back, he'd like to keep it that way because, yeah. Colin, break glass in case of emergency vibes. I don't know if for me, it's interesting. I don't know if it's break glass in case of emergency. I'm more like, because to me, if they go down 0-2, I actually think that makes it less likely that we see Mitch like in game 3, for instance. I think it's more like if they could tie this thing up 2-2 and it basically becomes a 3-game series and they have another 2 games off, because don't forget the way the series is going to go is you got tonight, Friday, and Sunday, and then you got another 2 games off before game 5 on Wednesday. I think if it's 2-2 after 4 and you got 2 games off going into Wednesday, I think that's when they might do it. That's my 2 cents. Andrew Claudio chiming in the chat here. My favorite theory came from Stacey Patton on Twitter. Tibbs wants to keep 6 and 9 in the starting lineup together, so their backcourt is 69. You know what? If that was his rationale, I would respect him so much more. Michael Aaron, my good man. Hey, John, came in late. You may have addressed this, but I feel like at this point, Elf is either a front office decision that Tibbs can't change, or he feels like his bench is too weak if Roser quickly starts. I think it's the latter. I've posited the front office theory obviously throughout the year. I think at this point, I think that may have to do with it throughout the season. I don't think that's what is keeping him in now, because now you could actually argue that by continuing to play him with this much attention focused on him, national attention, where let's just face it, if he goes out there tonight and he stinks up the joint again and he goes another 0 for 3 and he gets pantsed by Trae Young and he plays, let's just say for argument's sake, he plays 6 minutes. Like around the NBA, teams are going to be looking at this guy like, oh, wow, this is a minimum salaried player at this point. And it's not only is it a minimum salaried player, it's a minimum salaried player who we're not going to sign for more than 2 or more than 1 guaranteed year. Now, he may have earned himself that designation already with his play, but I actually think if they sat him, maybe with a game or 2 left in the season and they were, came up with some bullshit about, it's a tight hamstring or something, whatever, make something up, and he was out throughout the playoffs, there's a possibility that some team could have looked at it and been like, oh, Elfrid Payton, he's bad and he struggled towards the end of the year, but he was still the starting point guard on a team that won 41 games. Let's throw him the same contract that the Knicks threw him last year. Let's throw him 1 year, $5 million. Now, with what's going on now, I'm wondering what team is going to look at him and be like, holy shit, does this guy still think he can play basketball? So I actually would argue if the front office was trying to do him a favor, they bench him. But, what do I know? I've been wrong before. CT Pittman's just the generosity knows no bounds. Thank you, my man. This is frustrating. If there was one phrase I could use to describe everything about where we're at right now with Elf and just, game 1, this is frustrating would be it. It's not just game 1. Elf has been lazy on defense for the past few games, even before the playoffs. Yes. Remember the starts we got when he was out with a hammy? We got some fast starts. Yeah. Again, the conversation is done about whether there's any benefit to in and of itself in starting him. It is purely the trickle down effect. But you're absolutely right. See what else we got. Hush Zoo. This game is going to determine my mood for the rest of the week. I'm praying. I mean, look, I don't want to be negative. I'm not going to be negative and talk about like where is the mindset if they lose this game tonight, because I think they're going to win the game tonight. I want to be very clear about that. I think they're going to win the game tonight. And I think it is going to be a close game. If I had to bet on how this game's going to go, my bet is that they're going to get off to a much faster start. I think they're going to come out with their pants on fire on defense, a lot like they did against Phoenix in MSG, which is, I thought, the best start to a game they've had all year. I think the elf leash is going to be even maybe faster. Maybe it's 2-3 minutes if he's bad. I think they're going to get off to a hot start. I think maybe we see something close to a 20-point lead. I think the Hawks will get back in the game because, and again, that's not me trying to be a downer. That's just me looking at this season and saying unequivocally, without exception, they have not had a game this year. And if feel free to correct me if anybody remembers a game that's different. They have not had a game this year against a good team. Let me be very clear. Against a good team where they have taken a big lead and they have run away with the game. Every single time they take a big lead against a good team, they let the good team back in the game. Now, you want to tell me tonight's going to be the first time that they do something differently? Maybe. That's not in this team's DNA. I would love to be wrong. I can't wait to eat these words after the game. But I think the Hawks will come back. If the Knicks do take a big lead, I think they will make it close. And I ultimately think it's going to be a somewhat comfortable win. Maybe some tense moments down the stretch, but maybe I predicted, I think, a 6-point win. So Troy Hendrickson, yeah, the Bucks game at the beginning of the year and the Boston game, those are both true. The Milwaukee game was weird because the shooting disparity in that game was so crazy, where just the Knicks were hitting everything and the Bucks were hitting nothing. And there were still a few tense moments in the beginning of the third quarter, by the way, in that game, even though the Bucks couldn't buy a basket, where I think it got down to like maybe not 10, but it got down to like 12. But the Boston game early on was the other one. Jason Tatum was out for that game, and I think Boston revealed themselves over the course of the year to be a highly inconsistent team. I'm talking about against a good team. So, Zolo J, how many combined points for Obi and Emmanuel quickly tonight? Let's go with, I don't know, let's go with 16. So Quickly is funny. Quickly is one of the few guys who didn't feel the pressure at all. I'm not surprised in the least. That guy has ice water running through his veins. But I just think Quickly just generally runs hot and cold. Like, just because Quickly had 10 points in the first game and shot it, obviously I made both of his threes, I think. He was 4 for 5 overall. He could come out tonight and shoot, 3 for 9. I'm not saying he will. I'm not saying he won't. I just Quickly, I think, is a game-to-game guy. When he's feeling it, he's feeling it. When he's not, he's not. Obi, I'm excited to see what Obi does. I'm so hyped on Obi after that game and generally moving forward. I think somebody asked some questions about Kawhi in the chat. The only thing I'm going to say about Kawhi at this point, because we got a game tonight, and that's more important, is I think, am I paying attention to what's going on in the Clippers series? Fuck yes, I am. You better fucking believe I am. I think I wrote a few months ago that I thought the chances of when I think I ranked Kawhi 4th or 5th in my free agency big board, purely because I didn't think there was a chance that it was a realistic chance that they could get him. I think I ranked it as a 2.5% chance or something that he comes, because I was so many things need to happen for him to even become a realistic option for us in terms of he wants to leave and where the team he wants to go to. But the biggest thing that I wrote is that I thought that the Clippers needed to end this season feeling he needed to end the season feeling like the Clippers couldn't get out of their own way and there was no path forward for him there. I think if they lose in the first round, I think that's going to be the case. And I think he's absolutely going to look around. At the very least, he'll take meetings. I mean, if they lose in like 6 games to Dallas or 5 games, whatever, how does he not take meetings? Especially when there's this situation here, and there's obviously a situation in Miami, which could be very interesting to him. So the thing that the reason I thought of this when I mentioned Obi is, yes, I was up at 2 a.m. because I could not sleep, doing salary cap math on how the Knicks could afford to offer a max contract to Kawhi Leonard and afford to give Kyle Lowry $25 million a year. And the short answer is they could afford to do it if they get rid of everybody, including their own draft picks, with the exception of Randall, RJ, Quickly, and Mitch. So if you basically salary dumped Knox, Toppin, non-guaranteed Vildoza, non-guaranteed Pell, traded away your first round draft picks for, I don't know, fucking a ham sandwich, whatever. Put all that stuff out the window. You could afford to do that. Obviously, they're not going to do that. But the reason I always thought about it is because I think it's going to be a priority, regardless of what else they do this season, regardless of what else they do this offseason. I think keeping Obi around is going to be a priority. I think the organization believes in Obi Toppin. I think they want to see Obi Toppin succeed here, and I don't think they're going to trade Obi Toppin unless they get, 95 cents on the dollar for Obi Toppin. I don't think they're going to, unless it's like the only way they could, unless, like, for instance, Kawhi resigns in LA and, like, you don't get, Dame without including Obi in the package, unless it's something like that. But I think they want to figure out a way to keep Toppin around. Everybody else they care about. Okay, some more comments in the super chat. Thank you so much. Anthony Sixto. The Knicks were giving room to Trey and trying to cut off the oop, forcing contested mid-range. Think we see them try and force the deep shot instead? Or do you expect them to stay the course one more game? So basically you're asking, do I expect them to go under on screens? No, I don't. I expect them to continue going over screens. But here's one thing I will say. On what fucking play was it? They did go under on a screen. I think it was Frank, actually. Frank initially went under on the screen on the last play. And then he eventually came over and Trey, we don't need to talk about it again. But do I think they might, throw a little bit of going under the screen at Trey to give him a different look? Sure. But, like, I just don't know if I'm Tom Thibodeau. Do I want to open that can of worms? Like, right now, the can of worms that you have in front of you is very, very clear. Trey's eating and getting whatever he wants from one specific area, the short mid-range. You're taking away the 3, or you're doing what you can to take away the reasonable 3. Can Trey still pull up from 30 feet if he wants? Absolutely. And if Trey wants to pull up from 30 feet, let Trey pull up from 30 feet. You're taking away the short 3, you're taking away the lob, and you're kind of taking away the offensive rebounds, although they got a few last game. So you're basically giving them one thing. I think it has more to do with the help and when they bring the help and where they bring the help from. That's what I thought this was going to come down to before the series started. That's still what I think the series is going to come down to because, again, same elf logic. If you look at it and you'd be like, oh, my God, they killed us. He was hitting all of the mid-range floaters. Like, how could you let them do that again? They were a loose ball away from winning the game. So can you look at the strategy and say the strategy didn't work? I don't necessarily think you can because I thought the Hawks executed that strategy about as well as they could have. And they still barely won the game, even though we weren't doing anything on offense. No 3s from RJ, or 1 3 from RJ, no 3s from Reggie. Terrible game from Julius. I think they largely stick with the same strategy. I don't think they want to upend anything. CT Pittman. We got punched in the mouth game 1 and lost by only 2. Damn right. I'm just ready to see how the team responds. That's going to tell us a lot. Here's how they lose this game. And I'm going to say this. This is I mean this to be a positive comment. They lose this game if they come out and they don't execute. If they come out and they execute on defense the way that they're capable of executing on defense, and that, quite frankly, I think they executed on defense in game 1, maybe with a little bit more, selective help here and there, and like being a tad more on the balls of your feet, maybe on some of those young coverages. Yes, I'm talking to you, Derrick Rose. As long as they do that, and they just hit a few more shots, they're going to win the game. They're going to win the game. So 100%. It will tell us a lot. If they come out there and they shit the bed and they're slow on the, on the defensive coverages and they're just not hitting any shots again, like, that's a different story. Is my wife in here? And here I was thinking you were texting your side chick. What? I talk about KFS no context. Mark Ham, what's this chance that Tibbs is starting Elf with a special task to take Trae Young out of the game with a vicious clothesline? If he starts Norvel Pell, I would think that that's much more likely that he's trying to take out. You know what? I would love to see Norvel Pell. I like Norvel Pell. I think Norvel is going to be a nice player for this team moving forward. I'm excited to see what he could do with the development. Andrew just answered what my wife thought I was looking at. Yeah, I don't know where my side chick is, but she's not getting texted at 2 a.m. If Tibbs puts in Norvel tonight and there's a choice hard foul on Trae Young, I remember 90s basketball. I like 90s basketball almost as much as I like 80s basketball. When, when you played the Pistons, you weren't allowed to come into the lane because you would leave with a broken appendage. So I wouldn't mind seeing that. Evan Jinchin, how the hell do we defend the Spain pick and roll blitz? I think the Spain pick and roll thing they're going to be more ready for because the first time the Hawks pulled it out was in the fourth quarter and they weren't quite ready for it. It's a tough action to defend. I think if you're ready for it, you just got to be quick at the rotations. But at the same time, like, it's not even just about being quick at the rotations. Like on the play that's been making the rounds where Capella got the lob, like Quickly was kind of there in time, but it's Emmanuel Quickly versus Clint Capella, and you're not gonna stop that. I just think they have to be a little bit more ready for it, and you want to flip that on its head at the same time and say, well, what can Thibodeau introduce late in the game that the Hawks aren't going to be ready for? And that's, when do they start really hunting Trae? Although I don't know. I have trouble criticizing their offensive execution in game one in the fourth quarter because they scored 32 points in the fourth quarter against a team that's been a pretty good defensive team. So, but a selective blitz, I wouldn't mind a selective blitz here and there. They haven't done it that much, but I wouldn't mind seeing it. Okay, what else we got here? CPM. Every time questions have been asked about the team this season, they have been answered. This ride still has a ways to go. I think so. If they came out tonight and did not respond, someone was, and if they came out tonight and they did not respond, it would be uncharacteristic of them this year. Because this is the last thing I'll say, it feels like if you look through the season and you go through every game, they absolutely had to have, even dating back to that Milwaukee game, that third game of the season. You felt pretty good coming out of the preseason. If they went down 0-3 to start the year, it's like, oh, shit. They won that game. They won a game against, I'm trying to think of what it was, another game like early in the year when they were 5-8 that they had to have. Let me see what I'm actually going to do. Go through the schedule right now. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. The Boston Sunday game. They had to have that Boston Sunday game to get back on track. They had to beat like the shitty Washington and like Houston teams in the first half of the year. They absolutely needed to win the Memphis game. The season was hanging on a brink with the Memphis game, and they won that game. You could even argue the last 3 games of the season after that Lakers loss. Remember how I was like really down in the dumps after that Lakers loss. They came back, they won 3 straight. They made it interesting, 2 inch more interesting than it should have been, but they won 3 straight. So they have They have shown us all year what they are made of. I think they're going to show us what they're made of tonight. I said my prediction was 116, 110. I still think that's my prediction. I think there will be some tense moments, but I think they will win the game. And I think that's all I have to say about that. All right. I don't want to interrupt MSG's pregame coverage because MSG does have very good pregame coverage. Wally, did you know? I don't know if anybody knows this. Wally Zerbiak, who I believe is featured on the pregame coverage, used to play basketball in the National Basketball Association. Fun fact. So you could watch tonight, and if you're watching right now, you could go tell your friends, hey, go watch that Jonathan Macri guy because he gives fun tidbits that you didn't know, like Wally Zerbiak played basketball in the NBA. So again, that's why you come here for the information. I think that's it. I'm gonna have. We didn't do it tonight. We'll do it for Friday. A special surprise. Wait, we have breaking news. Wait, what breaking news do we have? Hold on. It's not the starting lineup. This just happened. Oh my God, that's not breaking news. Oh God. All right. Sorry. Andrew Claudio has just let me know that we have surpassed 6,000 subscribers to this YouTube channel. So I want to thank everybody for who's subscribed and who is watching. We appreciate it very much. I don't like to like boast about stuff like that, so that's why I'm poo-pooing Andrew's text. But I definitely do appreciate everybody who subscribed, everybody who watches, everybody who hits the like button, gently press the like button, and of course everybody who contributes in the super chat, which we have one more of right now. Of course it's CT Pittman, because who else would it be? Is our expectation too high now that we're in the playoffs? After all, we aren't supposed to be here. No, I think it was fair to expect the Knicks to win this series. What I didn't think was fair, and where I think I differed with a lot of people, was like thinking like this is going to be some kind of an easy run, through Atlanta. And hey, maybe they win tonight and they win the next 3 games, and I look like an asshole. Maybe I hope that happens. I love nothing more than looking like an asshole. But I said before the series it was going to be a really hard series. I still think it's going to be a really hard series. Thought it was going 7 games. Still think it was going 7 games. But no, I think it's fair to expect them to win it because I'm not saying that like a loss in 5 games or God forbid 4 games would like invalidate what they've been able to accomplish, but there's definitely going to be the crowd if they get wiped in this series. That'll be like Tibbs gets his guys to play extra hard. It's like the Chris Paul thing. Tibbs gets his guys to play really hard during the regular season. They don't have an extra gear. This isn't a team that's like a player away from contending. This is a team that's like, just a regular run-of-the-mill middling team. I don't want to hear that. I don't believe it. Personally, I don't believe it. If they get smoked in this series, I think there will be rational explanations for it. And I'll just, again, turn to game 1. They should have won game 1. They could have won game 1. They should have won game 1. But no, I don't think our expectations are too high. I think the expectations are right where they need to be. Go out there, make this, win the series, or at the very least, send it to 7 games, be representative of who you are, and then go to the next round, God willing, and make Philly earn it. Make Philly earn it. Okay. I've stepped on Wally Zerbiak's time long enough. Don't forget, everybody, watch MSG tonight for your coverage. You got Breen. You got Walt Clyde Frazier. I can't wait to see what Walt is wearing tonight. I was blown away by what he's wearing the other night. Now I can sign off. Thank you, Andrew. And I guess I will quickly plug for anybody who doesn't already, feel free to check out the Knicks Film School newsletter. which you should go on my Twitter, JC Macri NBA. You subscribe there. It's probably a link below here. You get some merchandise. I'm wearing the sweatshirt today. Subscribe to the podcast. Thank you, Andrew. You're the man. You built up a YouTube channel from nothing, and now we have 6,000 subscribers in like 2 months. I don't know how you did it, but you did. And let's go Knicks, baby. Let's get this win. We need it. Here we go.